All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one of my interviews here on Drip Talk with Blake DeSnake Roberts. I have a very special guest with me today. He is a former WWE Tough Enough competitor on season 6 in 2015. He is a current personal trainer, bodybuilder, and actor slash TV personnel. He is the president and CEO of his own company, Performance Supplements. He is no other than Alexander Frekey, so we'll get him on in here, and then we'll start on with the interview. Hello.
What's up, Blake? How are you, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, brother.
That's good. Well, I thank you for taking your time to do this interview.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah,
Any?
sure. So, as Blake already mentioned, I'm Alex Frekey, former WWE Tough Enough competitor, fitness personality. I own my own company, Performance Supplements. I'm also in the medical field, so I do a whole bunch of stuff all day long, and jack of all trades, I guess.
Nice. All right. So, the first question I'll ask you is, when did you get into wrestling, and what made you just want to do it?
So, I'll be honest. Wrestling for me has always been something. I mean, I grew up during the Attitude Era of wrestling. I loved it. I mean, Stone Cold and Goldberg. I mean, I kind of modeled after their hairstyle. So, no, it was all. I grew up watching that stuff, and it was always a dream of mine to try to do it. And then, lo and behold, I'm having donuts with a friend of mine, a fitness professional in Dallas, Texas, and he gets a phone call from a casting director for the Tough Enough show. And he's like, I'm not a wrestler, but my buddy next to me is, and gave me his number. They called me that day and they wanted a videotape of me. I went to my apartment, did the tape, and 2 weeks later, I'm on a plane to Florida. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, man. It's actually kind of weird coincidence, but fate had it. Yeah, it worked out well.
Right. Yeah. What age were you when you officially knew you wanted to become a wrestler? Was it any young age?
Um, I'm not gonna say it was any specific age. Probably when I was I was like 12 or 13. I just really gravitated towards it.
Yeah. Is there any reasoning behind why you didn't start earlier in your career or go to any type of professional training?
Man, I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't know any that existed. I didn't know anything about the sport. I didn't know how they got into it, how they auditioned for, the character. I had no idea about any of it. So that's probably the main reason, is because my lack of knowledge and understanding it. And also, too, man, I'll be honest, I didn't seek it out. I thought you had to, as a kid, I thought you had to do some type of wrestling, like your collegiate wrestling, to have any. I thought you had to have a background in it. And again, me, non-educated in it, kind of just didn't understand the process.
Yeah. You mentioned you watched wrestling as a kid in the Attitude Era. Who
Yep.
was some of your favorite wrestlers growing up?
So, of course, Bill Goldberg is my all-time favorite. The dude, I mean, just an absolute animal. Stone Cold was one of them, of course. I like Booker T now, since I've got a chance to spend time with him. But he was always a funny one to watch on TV. Man, DX. I'm a huge fan, even though he's not in the WWE anymore. I'm a huge fan of Billy Gunn, man. The dude's an awesome human being. We spent a lot of time together, so I'm a huge fan of his. When I saw him when I was a kid, he was kind of like that really cocky dude who was just annoying. But now his personality is identical to that, and it's funny. But I'd say DX and Stone Cold, Goldberg. There's some other ones in there, but those are the main ones I was wanting to watch every week.
Definitely. Those are really good. Definitely DX, the
Yeah.
comical side of them was just great, and
Yeah,
everything that they could do at like every show.
absolutely.
Do you watch wrestling still to this day? If so, who are some of your favorites to watch now?
So, I'll be honest, man. I tune in every once in a while. For me, I'm kind of stuck in that era that I loved, and it's not the same for me anymore. And it's like I tune in. This is God's honest truth. I tune in to watch the people that I know. Well, Mandy was on there, and gosh, what was her name? Oh my God, I'm blank on her name. She was the other girl on Tough Enough. Oh my gosh.
Sonia?
Yeah, Sonia. I mean, of course, you know her real name, but Sonia. I just go in to see what they're up to. See how they're doing, because I know how they are in the real world, and how they were when I met them, to their experience and their skills now. It's so cool to see them really take their career in that direction. And that's really it. I mean, the storyline. If I miss 2 or 3 weeks of it, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, you can catch up from the previews and stuff, but like back in the day, in the Attitude Era, I knew everything. The storyline, I knew I was all wrapped into it. Now, since I haven't been watching as much, it's hard for me to follow, and it's not the same style as I would like, that I'm used to.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It changed a lot from back in the day.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Who were some of your wrestling trainers that tried to help you get into the wrestling business?
So, you know what, man? Billy Gunn was a huge influence, because we're about the same size. I'm about 6'4", 200, 30-pound. He's the same, literally almost identical size as me. So we had a lot of similar things in common, similar style of things. So he was one of them that really was more of the athletic type of coach. The person that made a huge impact on me was Brian Danielson. He gave me some real advice when I went into, he sat down, he's like, I asked him the real deal about wrestling. Like, what do you get paid? You know what I mean? I had a fiance at the time, and I had, student loans to pay for. I had stuff responsibilities. I had to know, leaving a career that I had in the fitness world to go into that, I had to know the ins and outs on how that worked. And he was very straightforward with me, and it was funny. He said something to me was really interesting. He said, if I were to give you wrestle in front of 5 people, if I were to give you $20 to wrestle in front of 5 people, would you do it? I said, no, I would not do it. And he was like, this is not for you. And I was like, then it's not for me. And it was really cool to level with someone on a real, not just feed you a bunch of crap and be like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And it was really awesome to get real answers from someone that has been in it and has started. He started wrestling in front of 5 people. You know what I mean? So it's it was really kind of cool to hear that from someone.
Yeah, definitely. You also worked with the likes of like Booker T,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, Billy Gunn, and then there was also Lita in there,
Yep.
Daniel Bryan, Hulk Hogan for a little bit.
A little bit. Yep.
As coaches and trainers, what was it like just getting to work with them and be in the atmosphere of guys and ladies that you watched when you were younger?
It was really awesome, first and foremost. Booker T is great. Lita is awesome. Hulk Hogan was actually a lot smaller than I imagined. I thought he was a lot bigger. He's short. He's actually a lot shorter than I thought. But the cool part was to see them still be able to move the way they do, knowing the pain I was in just for the preliminary entrance into it of a week. My butt was kicked, man. I mean, that mat is a real deal. That thing does not forgive. And to see them still being able to move around like that, I was blown away. I was like, holy crap. I'm this, 20 something, I think it was like 27 at the time, 28. And dude, they were just running around like crazy. And again, not the entire time, but to show us things, I was like, seeing how they move was really, really something. So that probably to me was like the biggest thing that impacted me.
Yeah, most definitely. So, what was the reasoning behind getting eliminated from WWE Tough Enough in such an early manner? And what was your reaction to getting
Yeah,
eliminated so early?
yeah, great question, man. So, the elimination, of course, was not my choice. The I guess you call it game or the stage of what we were at. We had to swim. I wasn't a good swimmer, dude. I'm straight muscle and I sink. And I'm not a swimmer to begin with. In general, I don't swim. I usually swim in pools that are like 5 feet deep. You know what I mean? So I don't
Yeah.
swim long distances. So legitimately swam as fast as I could, hard as I could, and I went down, dude. So I got eliminated for my lack of doing good in what you want to call it, that match, that obstacle, whatever you want to call it. So that was it. So it wasn't my doing; it was more me. Also, was the voting. So I didn't do well in it, and it was just a downhill spiral from there. But the storyline, we had to take a turn with the storyline, and that was a perfect time to pull me out of the show at that time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it seems like they did a lot of things that you didn't really need for wrestling. A lot of
Yeah, and that was one thing I was really I thought it was poorly done. Like I would have liked to do a lot more athletic stuff in the ring and showing that stuff because if you remember that it still haunts me today sometimes when I get on certain type of forums and stuff like that. The swimming did nothing for us. The first trial we did in the athletic ability, carrying the bag and up and down the stage, that was awesome. That was something I thought we would be doing all the time, obstacle courses, things like that. But having the challenge like that, not being in a ring and being in water, that has nothing to do with wrestling. I was like, holy crap. And also too, they didn't preface the whole thing saying, hey, listen, these are going to be some of the things you might be encountering. I would have been training for it. I would have gotten to a pool. I would have done that stuff. But not many people are not. I'm not saying not many, but there's a handful of people who aren't swimmers, and I was one of them. So, yeah, that was kind of like something I wish they would do differently.
Yeah, I agree. Is there any reasoning behind why you didn't stick and stay with wrestling after getting eliminated from WWE Tough Enough and try elsewhere?
Yeah, Daniel Bryan, man, I'm telling you, what he told me, and after we got off camera, he sat me down and he told me the real how it works from start to finish. And I was like, I can't, I'm used to making this certain amount of money going into something that, I had to build back up over years. I already was established in a different industry. I was like, man, I can't do that. And, that was the main reason. I had the opportunity to come back to do NXT and stuff like that. And I just turned it down. The money wasn't there. As me having a business, I'm a business-minded person. And if there's no return on my investment to do certain things, I just don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you definitely have to get paid a good amount of money to wrestle. Definitely because you're putting your body on the line.
No doubt.
And all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right after getting eliminated from WWE Tough Enough, what did you start doing after, like, for your career?
Yeah. So after getting eliminated, I of course, flew back to Texas, and I was back into the sports nutrition world that I came from. So went to work for a large nutrition company again, and back to the fitness world. So traveling around the country, doing expos. I'm one of my degrees in biochemistry, so I help formulate products, create products. So I went back into that whole world.
Nice, yeah. Out of all the other contestants in WWE Tough Enough that took part in the same class you did, who did you usually hang around the most with, and like who would you call like a friend?
Yeah, so it's really funny. So we used to have this thing, myself, Mata, and Josh. We call ourselves the Nightmare Zone. So we were just the three biggest guys in the place. Of course, I was the smallest of those guys. And then so Mata and I still talk a lot. Josh, I haven't talked to in a little while. Tanner actually is a good friend of mine. Him and I probably get a text message from him at least once, twice a month. But Mata, I love following his career, man. Dude's a funny son of a bitch. Dude, he's awesome. But yeah, Josh, Mata, Tanner, and we're still all really good friends.
Definitely, yeah. And what was it like getting to see Josh win the whole thing and just
Awesome.
going on to where he is now in his life and career, and just
It was
where he's
cool.
gone?
Josh had a great personality for wrestling, dude. I was actually leaning more towards Mata. Mata had that electrifying personality. Dude is just nuts, man. I love the dude. He's just awesome. And he's a monster. And it's just his personality, his energy. I thought he was going to win, but I think that Josh had a more sweetheart favorite in with the people. And I think that was it, in my opinion. But both are good dudes. And, I know Josh didn't stick it out with NXT and stuff like that. I didn't follow his career in NXT as much as I should have, but I know he's happy doing what he's doing now. I think he's part owner of a gym or something like that. Still in the fitness world and all that stuff, but still dancing on camera on TikTok and shit. Like, still funny as hell, man.
Yep. Yeah, I see his stuff here and there on Instagram and stuff. He's still doing like physical stuff.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he's a big dude. He's a monster too. He's a huge human being.
yes, he definitely is. And then there was also Sarah Lee, who won.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to seeing her win, and what was she like as a person to be there with?
Dude, that's one of the nicest people I've ever met. Super sweetheart, man. She was gifted as an athlete. I don't, when she won, it was all well and good, but Mandy should have won. She was a diva, dude. She was, 100%. There's nothing about Mandy that's not a diva. So, like, if they were looking for the next person to go into the WWE, they should have picked a little bit differently, in my opinion. So, I love that they won. They actually won. So if it was a contest on like skill and all that stuff, absolutely, Josh and her for sure, dude. But in terms of who's the next WWE superstar, they definitely should have chose different directions.
Yeah, I agree, because there was like Chelsea Green, Velveteen Dream, like you mentioned, Mandy Rose and Sonya that were in there, and they went into the WWE.
Yeah.
And then there was Sarah and Josh, who just
they fizzled.
Weren't. Yeah, they like disappeared right after they won, and they didn't really do anything with the WWE.
Yeah, and then also, man, I'll be honest, dude. I think that the Tough Enough show was done really bad this time. It was produced really bad. The structure was really bad. They could have done it way better.
Yeah. It could have been also because it was like the last year and they probably didn't know what they were doing at that time with the company.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
What were some of the hardest working wrestlers that you remember from your Tough Enough season?
Dang, Josh and Mata, of course, Tanner. I'm gonna say, yeah, those three guys, man. All of us were in the gym, so we weren't relaxing eating. We were in the gym, and it was really apparent. Oh my God, what's his name? The Velveteen Dream. What's his name?
Patrick Clark.
Patrick. He's a hard worker too. He loved wrestling to a different level. And if you remember that argument we got in on this season, where they cut what I said, and I said knowledge means nothing, and they cut it out because of the direction we were going. But he always talked about who won what belt and what championship and what date and what year and what WrestleMania. And I was like, dude, what does it have to do with you being in a ring and being athletic? And he was like, well, we have to understand this stuff. I said, for what? I said, if I'm going to pick you up over my head and throw you, knowing who won the WrestleMania 5 is irrelevant to anything. And I said, knowledge means nothing comes athletic ability. So they cut that part out. and basically made it out me saying knowing the WWE means nothing. So it kind of sucked. But Patrick, good dude, hard worker, but him and I butted heads, of course, when we were there. And then also ZZ and I butted heads also. He was just a very lazy human being. And I'll say it till this day, the dude did nothing on the show. I mean, athletic ability, he's a good swimmer, as you guys saw, but not a good athletic person by any means.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a lazy dude at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a good swimmer because he does like
alligator wrestling and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like getting to work with Cesaro in WWE Tough Enough? What was he like?
I didn't have much of interaction with him. He was there. A little bit. So I don't have much to say about him really. Nice guy and all, but we didn't really interact much.
Yeah. Now thinking about it, if you could go back in time during your time in the WWE, do you think your now self could go through WWE Tough Enough and possibly get even further than you did, or even possibly win it?
So knowing what they were looking for and what they had to do, yes, I can go further. Physically, me now, I'm beat up. Physically, no, I would not be able to pass the physical requirements of the torture of wrestling itself. But yeah, me now, how I understand the business, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, because now definitely since you got to see what it's like, and if you went back, I mean, then
Yep.
You'd be like, already.
Yeah, and it'll be a little different. I mean, I understand what to do and what not to do, how to act, how to really change and get into different character, because I'm definitely a heel through and through. So playing that role a little bit harder would have been more shining. You know what I mean? I would have shined a lot more in that regard. I didn't know which side to play, so it was interesting to do it that way. But definitely would have went further, knowing what I know now.
Definitely, yeah. Right now in your career / life, would you ever try to possibly get back into the wrestling business? I know you said you were not really stable, like, into doing that. But would you ever if you got like asked to do something, would you?
So if I were asked, I would probably have to turn it down. So I had a spine surgery in 2021, and I have another one here October 8th. So physically, I wouldn't be able to do it. From the outside looking in, you could see me. I'm still in the same better shape than I'm in the best shape of my life, look wise. But when it comes to actually performing, I wouldn't be able to do it. So, but let's flip the coin. Let's say I was 100% healthy. I would definitely try for sure. I have a supplement company that, I could run from afar, and I have a partner and stuff like that. So I can do those things from a distance. Doesn't require me to be physically present, but yeah, I mean, I would if I had the same body back when I was 27 now, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. What did your average go to, like, how do I put this? Like, your go-to in WWE, how did it usually work in WWE Tough Enough? What did they usually do with you there?
In terms of like types of like exercises, training, stuff like that. Is that what you're talking about, or like?
Yeah.
So the crazy part is we weren't really allowed to train in the ring if we weren't accompanied by coaches and stuff, which is kind of sucked. We were allowed in the performance center, the weight training, physical fitness type area anytime we wanted to, which was we were there all the time. So our go-to stuff was strength training, primarily. That's what we did all the time because that's what we're actually currently really allowed to do. It was be on camera, eating, going through our trials, whatever you want to call them, and then weight training on our free time. So, yeah, so that was really it. Weight training would be the go-to.
Yeah. Are there any funny or interesting stories that you remember from your time in WWE that you would like to tell?
Yeah, man. So, man, one of the last times that we all hung out, and I have pictures of it, I think, on my Facebook. But we have a bunch of us in a group. We're kind of slightly dressed up. We all went out for the night, and we went out in Orlando, and dude, we all got blasted drunk, and it was so much fun, dude. Like, I mean, we went bar hopping. I think two of my friends, my personal childhood friends, met us out, and we were laying on steps in some type of like I don't know, kind of like town hall looking thing. We were all just hammered, man. So much fun. We went out to dinner to like a hibachi place, and then we all went out to like a few different clubs, man. It was so much fun. That was probably the funniest stuff we've done. Regret every minute of it because the next morning they knew we went out and they woke us up at like 4 a.m. to start running and stuff. So that sucked. And we knew that was going to happen, but we had a blast, dude. No, I won't change that for the world.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at least you made moments, great moments out of your time there.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Definitely.
What were the promo days in WWE Tough Enough like for you? Were you good on the mic, or is that something that you think you could have improved on?
So you know what, man? That didn't start until after I got off the show. So I would have been amazing at that. I have been speaking on camera for years, being an actor prior to WWE Tough Enough in John Wick and then Blacklisted NBC. I've done acting and auditioning for years, and I would have destroyed that promo time, but I didn't get to do it.
Man, that sucks because I think as an actor, I think that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But like the video that you did to qualify to get in, out of everyone, I heard a lot of requests. What was it like getting to do that promo for?
It was a lot of fun. I sat in my apartment, set my camera up and just, went at it a few times. I just winged it, man. And I guess I caught their attention, yeah, it was fun. It was fun doing that stuff. Those promos are fun, man. They're like, it's a mixture of acting, talking smack on camera to, whoever you're talking to, and just kind of just being in your character, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. What are some of the hardest moves you've had to do and take during your time in WWE Tough Enough?
Man, I'll be honest. It's probably gonna sound stupid, but the hardest thing I had to do was running and slamming off the ropes back and forth. Those ropes hurt dude. I had welts right across my back, like middle of my back, because when you bounce off them, dude, they're not very padded. I mean, and they hurt. That was probably by far the hardest thing I had to do consistently, like all the time. And, not just one or two times and you're done, but like every day. And it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I've been in the ring. I ran the ropes. I've never actually, they didn't really hurt, but I know the falls on the mat definitely sting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Those sting, yeah. What was it like having I know you mentioned that you weren't a good swimmer. What was it like having to swim through a swamp to grab the replica NXT title and bring it back to shore as one of your things to do?
It sucked. Dude, I'll be honest, man. I'm good in the ocean, up to my chest and stuff like that, but not being able to see dark black water and being in the Everglades where there are snakes, there are alligators, there are different types of things like that. You don't know. And it was, I'm gonna be honest, man, it was scary. It was not, it was definitely a fear of mine that I had to live out. It was like, it sucked. But the crazy part about that is the water had different temperatures. So it would be warm and then really cold and then warm and then really cold. It was so weird. And then you not knowing what's below you sucked, dude. And like, if you told me to do it again, no. Maybe for $1 million, I would do it, but no.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, it's really cool. The one of the PAs, the personal assistants on the set, actually got my belt for me, and they gave it to me because we're not supposed to take those home, but they did. And I've had it displayed on on my stand for forever because it was kind of a reminder of something cool in my life I've done. You know.
Yeah, of course. That's an amazing achievement. Who are some of the wrestlers that you got in the ring with during your time in WWE Tough Enough that you think are hard to work with, like stiff, or if there were any like stiff?
Patrick was definitely stiff. He was a very rigid person when it came to his mindset on wrestling, and it was really that way. He was difficult. ZZ just because he was lazy, and he got far in WWE Tough Enough because of his likability, I think. So working with him and training with him, and he would always fall behind all of us. It was really hard to do things as a team, as a squad. So I would say those two, man, really were tough.
Yeah. Definitely seeing how far Patrick went and into his Velveteen Dream character. His Velveteen Dream character was just great.
Yeah, and I mean, I give him all the props in the world, man. I mean, he loved wrestling. Like if anyone loved wrestling, it was Patrick, and I give him credit for it. You know what I mean? It's something that was a dream and passion of his to do, and love it for him that he did it.
Yeah. What was it like doing the boot camp or bus season episode for WWE Tough Enough? What was like the whole thing about that?
Man, it was hard. They mentioned it was going to be tough, but it was, dude, there was times where we were going through that stuff and I collapsed and my body was so sore in the moment, not like the next day. But the crazy part is we didn't get to rest enough. We had to go day to day to day to day, not like train like animals and then go a day off. Like, dude, it was every day for a week straight. And it was brutal, like hardcore. And if you asked me to do it again, I probably wouldn't, just because it was that hardcore. And it truly gave me a sense of respect for what wrestlers what type of shape you have to be in order to perform.
Yeah. Out of all of like the things that they had set up, like there was boot camp or bust or like the swim in the swamp, but then there was other ones after you got eliminated. Was there one that you were definitely looking forward to, or
yeah, so like that the obstacle course I wanted to do really bad, but I didn't make it to that. Yeah, that was probably the one I was bummed out that I get to do.
Yeah. Was there any advice or compliments you've got from any other wrestlers other from Daniel Bryan when you were there?
Yeah, Billy Gunn and I had a lot of talks. We both had a massive passion for fitness and bodybuilding type of stuff. And as you can tell, the dude's in insane shape still, man. I mean, but when he talked to me, he was like, you physically have what it takes. I can see that you can get into character. You can do all this stuff. It's just, he was like, you just have to want it in order to make it. And I don't think I wanted it enough. And, he really gave me that encouragement that I do have what it takes to be someone in WWE. And, it was just not a good time and not a good timing, in my life to do it. But got his encouragement. And, we still kept up, we still, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but we still messaged years afterwards and stuff like that. And just an all around good guy, and gave me some great advice.
Definitely, yeah. Were you ever in any type of drama class or any type of those type of classes as a kid in school?
No, actually, no, man. I was just a hyperactive kid that I didn't mind being, center of attention. Not because I wanted attention, but I didn't mind. I could walk up to someone in the street, say hi, talk to them talk to a doornail. You know what I mean? But no, I didn't. And I got into the whole acting thing on a whim. Some casting director took a picture of me when I used to work at GNC when I was 18 years old, and then I started doing fashion magazines and stuff like that, and then I started getting into commercial acting, and it just kind of went that way. But no, I wish I did.
Yeah. Were you ever in any type of school or amateur wrestling as a kid?
No, but I will say this: I was around as a kid. A bunch of my friends, and I'll tell you the reason why I didn't partake. So a bunch of my friends were actual professional wrestlers. They had a professional wrestler certification. So they had their own backyard wrestling. They had them at civic centers and churches and stuff like that. My best friend, I call him my brother. He was one of the main people in it. He's about 5'8", smaller, wiry dude, moonsaults, all that. So he was a great wrestler. I was around that my whole life. But I used to go and support them, and main reason why I didn't partake in doing that stuff because I was a high school athlete. So I had a legitimate basketball career all through high school and going into college. So I couldn't get hurt doing anything extracurricular other than my sport. So my family was like, "You do that, you're deep shit." So I didn't do that stuff. But I was around it a lot, and I saw and loved it, and that was really cool. And how they had the storyline and like setting up the ring and like just the time it took for them to put something on to make no money, just to do it for fun. And I was like, man, like, and the crazy part is I was in the sidelines watching them. And when I got on the WWE, my two best friends were like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, I was like, the person that didn't want to join now has the chance to do it. And I was like, hey, yeah, the fate had it that I got in. So they were excited for me, and still will talk about it to this day when I see them. I haven't seen them in a long time, but yeah, it's that was probably my childhood. I was with them all the time.
That's cool. What other sports did you play in high school or middle school or during your school other than I know you mentioned basketball, but was there
so I played basketball. I played baseball when I was younger up until I was like about 16, and I played intramural lacrosse in college alongside basketball when I was done, and then I got into bodybuilding my freshman year of college. I really gravitated towards fitness and started putting on muscle, and then that was kind of took over from there. Just went on, man. But yeah, your normal sports.
Yeah. What made you decide to start getting into bodybuilding, and what made you decide to get into bodybuilding and just wanting to start building up your muscles?
Yeah. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I got cut from my basketball team. So freshman year of high school, I went to the most popular school. It was a Catholic school in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and they're state champions. I went there specifically to play basketball. So I got on the team freshman year. Sophomore year, I got cut, and I got cut not because of my skill, but I grew 6 inches, and I went from a point guard to a forward. Didn't know how to play the position, to be honest with you, and I was skinny. So that whole year that I got cut, I hit the gym. I put on 15 pounds. I trained hard, and then I just kept training. And I saw literally people treated me differently. I saw how I played different, being stronger. And I just kept training on since then. And then when I got into college, I really gravitated towards bodybuilding because I saw I knew my basketball career in college was going to be short-lived. I know it wasn't going to the NBA. I'm only 6'4", 6'5"-ish. And I wasn't going to, I was good, but not that good. So I knew it was going to end sometime. So I had to figure out how to channel my competitiveness in a different manner. So bodybuilding was it. And I knew that if I hit the gym, I ate certain things. I took certain supplements. I would get bigger. And everything was individual. I loved team sports, but I was getting sick of team sports. I was getting sick of, three guys did terrible in that game and we're all punished for it. So I was like, man, I'm just going to do something myself. So after my senior year of college, I left the basketball team, concentrated on my 2 degrees and my 2 degrees and bodybuilding. It was just so much more fun. And then it opened all the doors to acting and modeling and all that stuff. So it was kind of like a really cool spiral effect.
Interesting. Yeah. So what did you consider to be a weakness of yours, and then like just a strength of yours in wrestling?
Strength of mine was strength, I would say. Definitely, because I was at that point, I was very strong. I was also fast, which was for a bigger guy. My weakness, I'll be honest, man, it was fear. I've always been fearful of getting hurt. Going through my high school career, I always sprained my ankle and shit. So I was always afraid to do that, because then that means I would stop having to do that and recover and miss games and miss whatever. So I was always afraid of, like, I wouldn't commit 100% on a move or whatever that might be, because I didn't want to get hurt. So that was my biggest drawback, man, would be fear. And that was one thing Billy Gunn said, is you got to get over that, because if you don't commit on a flip or a throw, you're going to hurt someone, hurt yourself. So that was my biggest fault, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of wrestlers have had fear, definitely, like starting out, because
Sure.
Because knowing that you have to perform in front of like these huge crowds of people, and when you start out, you're training in front of your trainers and a small group of other people that you're training with, and then when you're finally done with that, you have to get into these bigger crowds and face, if you're a heel or face, either them cheering you or booing you, and you gotta keep your character. And so
100%, man. Yeah, 100%.
What was it hard for you traveling from like show to show? This doesn't just have to be for like wrestling. This could be for like anything, like acting or anything else that you do. And what was the worst or best thing about traveling?
Man, the best thing about traveling was just experiencing all new places, new people, new scenarios, new food. Traveling is awesome, man. And I wish I'd done more of it outside the country. I travel for work all the time right now. I'm in different hospitals, all in 4 different states every week. And it's a lot of fun, and it's dynamic. So you're not just stuck in an office or stuck in your home working. And so it's change of scenery. The worst thing is, I'm away from home. I have a 2.5-year-old son, and missing family time, missing certain things. When he was first born, man, I was traveling like crazy. I missed like the first 2.5 weeks of his life because I was gone so much. And that's tough to do because time's so short, So, that was probably the worst thing, is missing time, with people, with loved ones and stuff like that. But, I love traveling. Love it. Absolutely love travel.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you specifically traveled with for road gigs, for anything?
Not much, man. All my travel for my career, for leisure. If it wasn't with my wife, I'd be kind of just with my team in the sports nutrition world. Like we have like a team of 8 people across the country that we'd be at shows with and all that stuff. And some of my colleagues, that work for other companies and stuff like that, but no one really specific that was like a travel buddy. And I wish my wife traveled with me more, to be honest with you. She just came with me a lot more, but just didn't make it happen.
Yeah. If you could go back in time and have a match with anyone that has passed away, who would that be?
Man, let me see. Man, honestly, probably Chris Benoit.
Hmm.
Because he was like in amazing shape. He was a lunatic, and he wasn't like a very big, like tall type of competitor, a fighter, wrestler. So probably him. I mean, of course, Andre the Giant, dude. Like that would have been so crazy, seeing someone that large. But yeah. And then being at the WWE Tough Enough show when Dusty Rhodes died, that was an experience. We didn't go to the funeral or anything because we weren't allowed to. We were shooting our show, but we saw the wrestlers can't come in for it, and seeing how someone like that impacted people's lives. He's one of the greats, and it was really. I'm not saying it's cool because he passed away, but it was kind of cool to see his impact. Not saying I'd wrestle him, of course, because not really my style, but having that that person it would be cool to meet him now, knowing all about him.
Definitely, yeah. So you said that you couldn't go to his funeral because you were shooting for WWE Tough Enough?
Yeah, so he passed away, and his funeral was during shooting of the show, and they had like something at the performance center for him, but we weren't allowed to go like to the actual like funeral type thing. So
that sucks.
Yeah, but also too, none of us knew him. You know what I mean? We weren't
right.
Billy Gunn did, so he went and all that stuff. But like all those people went, but we didn't know him, and we had been a nice Ben to do that, pay our respects. But unfortunately, it wasn't something that they wanted us to do.
Right. Yeah. Somebody that I think you would have had a good match with, and that you kind of look alike with, is Nathan Jones. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would have been a good one. That would have been a real good one.
Yeah, because your guys' size and muscle like just fit perfectly.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good.
Yeah. So if you could make like a Survivor Series match, including you with 4 wrestlers from any era who are still alive to this day, who would you choose as partners?
Oh, Stone Cold and Goldberg, totally. And then got to have someone small. Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, that's a good team.
Yep. Yeah, big guys and some wiry little man that just jumps in, everything, man. He does it all. So.
Yeah, I mean, Rey Mysterio is great in the ring.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Would you rather be in a street fight or a death match?
I would say probably street.
Yeah.
You just have more stuff at your disposal.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on like death matches?
I'm a huge fan of the cage match. I love that. So I mean, they're kind of similar, all right? I mean, it all depends on what time period it came from. But yeah, I mean that'd be more my speed. I just always remember the famous remember Mankind when he jumped off the top of the cage, dude. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And he hates me, by the way. Just letting you know that. So yeah, we were on some type of like we were on some type of post and whatever, and yeah, and he mentioned something about me, about the whole knowledge thing, and I try to explain it to him, and then we just got into an argument. So he got all butthurt. So, but dude's still amazing wrestler. But yeah, I would probably say cage match is something I used to love watching.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had actually Mick Foley on my podcast. So
nice. Yeah, no, I mean, this dude's a good dude, but he's very passionate about wrestling. And when that comment came, he took that seriously. And I was like, dude, that wasn't real.
Yeah. With I don't know if you ever heard of Yerpel the Clown. She was in the Attitude Era with Mankind.
Yeah.
Yeah. she did like the segment with Vince McMahon in the hospital and The Rock and Stone Cold and stuff.
And you know what? I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, that's who I keep forgetting about is The Rock, because I don't even view him as a wrestler anymore. You know what I mean? He's just a mogul. You know, he's our era's Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? Like, he's everywhere. So it's like, yeah, I keep forgetting that he was one of the main people of the WWE history.
Right. Yep. Yeah, a lot of, because he's a big in acting and big in wrestling. So
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. Same as kind of like John Cena, you know, and like Batista.
Yep.
So.
And Batista just dropped like 30 pounds. You see that?
Yeah.
And again, what most people don't understand is being like really big. It's not marketable because you can only play certain roles in acting. Granted, The Rock played 100 different roles, but they're all very similar if you think about it, you know. But what Batista wants to do needs different look, and you know, carrying around that amount of muscle for a long time, especially his age, is tough. It's tough to do. So, you know, I saw that and I was like, people were kind of like, I saw the comments, they're like making fun of him, and I was like, dude, you know, people don't understand how hard it is to keep muscle on as much as we have, and I'd rather make money in acting and get a part than not just by having muscle. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And he's getting up there in age. I mean, there's not much that he can do anymore, like in wrestling. Right. So, or any of that. I mean, there's probably a reason for him to lose weight, like his acting. So, yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Would you rather be in a blindfolded match, handcuffed to your opponent, or a dog collar?
Blindfold. Because dog collar, man, I don't know. It's just like the neck. No.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in a blindfolded match, since you like to be a heel, I mean, you could cheat too. So.
True. Mm-hmm.
Without the other guy knowing.
Right.
Is there any piece of merch that you have or had that sold out pretty quickly? Because I know you have merch for your performance supplements now, but yeah.
Man, when I created a T-shirt when I was in the show called it was called Freak Nation. It sold really good, but I donated it all to charity, so it wasn't for me. So that was probably the at the time, you know, everyone in my hometown bought it and all that stuff, but all of it went to the charity, which is kind of cool. But I mean, yeah, I mean, my products are, you know, they sell really well. They're very good. But, you know, the crazy part is, man, it's just like the whole wrestling thing, you know, I'm not a very popular wrestler. I was never a wrestler. You know, I don't consider myself a wrestler, but, you know, if I was in WWE or NXT for a little bit of time, I think it would be a little bit different in the type of crowd that follows me, you know. But you know, for me, it was that shirt on Tough Enough. My products are a completely different thing, but merch wise, that was just all me. Was that shirt? It was kind of cool. People really liked it.
Yeah, definitely. Is there any time a fan has seen you in public and got like super surprised and or excited?
Actually, yeah. A few times here in Arizona, there's been some people that knew I had a store, a retail store for my supplement company, you know, many years ago. Yeah, a few times. A few times in the airport, people recognized me, which is kind of crazy. You know, I thought that was really cool. You know, again, I wasn't on TV tons that people would have beat to really know me, but yeah, some of the people really followed it. You know what I mean? But you know, but there's also people on social media that message me, and I you know, talk to them and stuff like that. And you know, at the end of the day, you don't know how you're going to change someone's life. You know what I mean? And when there's a lot of people out there that a lot of actors or famous people or wrestlers that maybe aren't nice to people when they ask them questions, and not everyone can answer every question, but like, you can change someone's life by just being nice to them for 5 minutes and just entertaining a conversation on, you know, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want to call it. So it's really cool when it happens, and I appreciate it, but yeah, not as much anymore, which is kind of good.
What did they usually notice or recognize you from? Was it wrestling, acting, or?
So yeah, it was a tough enough show, and especially during that time, like 2016, 17, it was kind of still new. It was that, and then some of the podcasts I've been on, they've seen those, all that stuff. But yeah, mostly that.
Yeah. Who is your favorite horror character and favorite horror movie, if you have one?
Favorite horror character in horror movie, I would have to say Freddy Krueger, Friday the Nightmare on Elm Street. That's probably the one I was scared shitless as a kid, and growing up, and probably my favorite.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one because my favorite is Chucky.
Dude, scary little thing, man. I know, terrifying.
Yeah, I like the originals more than the new one.
Yeah, no, of course,
Yeah.
dude, absolutely. Yeah, they little outlandish, the new ones are, but yeah, old ones are pretty good.
Yeah. What is generally your favorite music to listen to in your spare time, like while you're working out or
Yeah,
just?
I listen to metal, like metalcore. I grew up in the era of like punk, emo, and stuff like that. So I listen to a whole array of stuff, but mostly the metal range.
Yeah. Is there any certain bands you like or
Oh man,
singers?
Kill Switch Engage. There's a band called Under Oath. I'm actually friends with them. Man, so many bands. Sleep Token's a good new one. Man, God, I can name tons of different bands, but yeah, Kill Switch Engage, August Burns Red, Sleep Token, Under Oath. Yeah, probably those few of my top favorites.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, my favorite band is Kiss.
Nice, dude. Very cool.
Yeah. I got to see them in concert for the first time ever for their final tour that they recently
Nice.
did, September 1st of 2023.
Nice,
And
man.
there I got to meet the Nasty Boys from WWE and stuff. So
Nice.
it was pretty cool.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. If a movie was made about your career, who would you want to play you?
Man, it's a good question. Movies, man. So I'm thinking who could play me. That's, you know what? Probably Alan Richardson. He's becoming one of my favorite actors now, and he's just a monster of a person. So he would probably be it. Because I used to have hair at one point in my life, so definitely could pull it off.
Yeah, definitely. And the things that they can do now with AI and all like the makeup that they can do, I mean, they can make anything work. So
yeah, absolutely.
If you got to choose the stipulation for your match, what stipulation would you choose?
Stipulation, probably. I'd probably have to say, like, having like a chair match, having just chairs scattered around the ring to use. I always thought that was fun.
Yeah. I don't know if you know about this, but ECW,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that time when all the fans threw the ECW chairs into the ring during.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like they named it as like one of the top 10 craziest moments in ECW history.
Totally.
So yeah. What has been the funniest thing a fan has said to you before?
Well, guess it was kind of funny. So when we were on that Periscope was out when we were there. ZZ and I were feuding or something like that, and I was calling him lazy and whatever. And then when I got off of WWE, and Patrick and I's conversation, people were telling me like to die, and I was like dumbfounded. And I'm like, wow. I was like, but the crazy part is, fans take this stuff like very, very, very seriously, and I didn't really respect that. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, like, the wrestling is a lot of people's lives, and it's okay. You know what I mean? But I didn't understand it. To get that type of hate when someone doesn't even know me was really, really interesting. I'm not saying it was funny or, whatever. It was like the most outlandish thing I've ever heard.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in touch with ZZ or Velveteen since then?
No. It's we haven't talked at all. Nope.
Yeah. What would you say a best fan compliment you have received?
Man, other than like some of the female was thought I was attractive maybe, but no, I didn't really receive too many good compliments because I was more of a heel. So it was more of I was always battling different fans, which was my role. But yeah, probably that.
Right, yeah. Have you ever been asked in your career life to ever do like any types of conventions or signings for not just wrestling in particular, but like I know they have like bodybuilding conventions and stuff of that sort. Have you ever been asked to do such like that?
Bodybuilding stuff. Yeah, I've traveled the country doing bodybuilding conventions, for years. But yeah, no, not wrestling stuff. But yeah, bodybuilding stuff, the fitness stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Was there any time you have witnessed like fans coming out of somewhere and trying to attack somebody?
No, not really. The only time we see that was there were people trying to get on set in Florida. They were like sit in their cars, sitting outside like the parking lot and stuff like that. So we had to have we had security in the parking lot, so no one came and tried to see any of us. But yeah, other than that, that was it.
Yeah. Have you ever had like any type of stalkers? Because I know some people talk about that they had stalkers here and there.
Me, no, none.
That's good, yeah. Would you rather join DX, NWO, APA, or BWO?
Probably NWO.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah, definitely, because as a heel, I think that would fit perfect because, I mean, NWO had all different sides of
Totally.
And many people, and they had NWO Japan, they had and all the types. So if you could, was there any time that was there any discussion of having a theme song for wrestling? If so, what would have your theme song been?
Probably End of Heartache by Killswitch Engage. The beginning of it's just like super awesome.
Yeah. If you could have any band or singer perform your theme song, who would you want that to be?
Well, I mean, of course, probably the band Killswitch. But yeah, I would say Killswitch. Yep.
Yeah. If you could do any signature move from any other wrestler, or was there any move that you had planned to do, what would that be?
Probably I want to do the power bomb from Goldberg. Yeah, that was gonna be the one I was gonna try to mimic, but Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely for your size, I think that would have fit well.
Yeah, totally.
What usually got you hyped for uh, a season that you were going to be doing or reporting for WWE Tough Enough?
Um, Man, I don't. It's a good question. I don't know if anything in particular, that would trigger, any type of motivation or anything like that. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really think much, man.
Yeah. What was your most favorite thing to do after all of your tapings for WWE Tough Enough?
Man, probably just relax, dude. I mean, the time we got to just hang out was so much fun, and just we didn't get enough of it because we were always on camera or in the gym or something like that. But probably just hanging out with the guys.
Right, yeah. During WWE Tough Enough, did you have to stay in character all times, or was it just a free for all?
Yeah, no, we didn't have to stay in character. It was like, hey, we're gonna start filming soon, and then, but no, we didn't have to.
Yeah. Have you ever accidentally broken out of like during tapings? Have you ever accidentally made like a mistake or had to
Oh yeah,
just
we
like
actually reshot a few different scenes because of like arguments. And they wanted to change them, and they wanted to like make them go different directions. So yeah, a few times, but more so because of the direction of the producers.
right? What has been the scariest slash most dangerous incident in your Tough Enough career?
Probably the swimming one. That was definitely the scariest. Just almost
Yeah.
drowning. Yeah, that sucked.
Mm-hmm. What about a dangerous or scary incident in your bodybuilding working out career?
Um, Man, you know what? In my bodybuilding career, I haven't had many. I've been pretty injury free my whole bodybuilding career. I'll be honest. So I haven't really had any. Sounds crazy, but people usually drop bars on themselves or squat and have to drop like nothing really. I've always been pretty careful.
Good. Yeah. Is there any time you have been injured in your whole entire career of anything? If so, what has been like the worst injury you have received?
Well, my worst injury I received was I used to ride mountain bikes like a lot, like kind of not professional but race and stuff like that. And I was about, man, I was like 18 or 19, and I hit a jump and I missed the landing and I hit a tree and I broke my shoulder and my arm. So that was probably the gnarliest one.
Yeah. Dang. What are some things you like to do in your free time other than what you do for business and all of that sorts of things?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, my free time is other than like family and stuff like that. My free time is I just like to relax. And I know that sounds weird, but like being just not on my phone, not on the computer, just having being peaceful and just like relaxing, hanging out, man, is something I really do enjoy. It's I do like video games. I'm getting back into them. That's something I've always really liked to sit down and just play for a little bit. But um, yeah, relaxing, man. And as you get older, you'll understand like just being by yourself and peaceful, man. It's just yeah, it's something that's different, man. It's just good. So that's probably my favorite thing to do is just have a free day where I don't have anything planned. That's the best day.
Right, because then you get to rest and stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So, to finish off the interview, what is one thing you would tell your fans of all sorts of how they followed you from wrestling and what you do now? Or
Hmm. I think for me, since I didn't have tons of time on the top on the WWE, and then all the different stuff that I've done is, wrestlers, actors, models, whatever, they're still people. and they're just like you and I. You and I, Blake, are no different. I'm just a little bit older, and I don't have any hair. You know what I mean? But in all seriousness, is that, people may play a character on television. They may play a character on wrestling or a movie, whatever. But that's not who they are. That's their job. And something that most people don't realize is, yeah, it's a cool ass job. But like any job, whether they work in an office or a studio set or a wrestling ring, there's still time that it takes and still work. And a lot of people really, again, just have a cool job. So there's still people like you and I, and I think more of the society needs to treat them like normal people. Yeah, they've done cool stuff, but at the end of the day, they're still humans, and they still have feelings. They still have families and kids and all that stuff. So I think they need to look at famous people and all that stuff through a different lens. I think is what I would really like to say to everyone out there. And lastly, is thank you for all people who supported me, who messaged me, who still follow me. It's really kind of cool. And I've always talked to anyone who messaged me, because that's just who I am. So yeah.
Yeah. And for my last and final question, would you have any advice for me to get into the wrestling business? I know you didn't have much of a career in wrestling, but or just like working out, because I want to start working out as well. And I have a gym in my basement.
Great. Fitness is the key to a lot of stuff in life, man. Your work ethic, the way you look, the way you feel, how strong you are, especially in wrestling. But working out is probably the biggest thing I would say to build yourself up. And again, you don't have to be a monster, but just in good shape. Take care of yourself, because that's your health and wellness for the rest of your life. So if you are in good shape and you feel good and all that stuff, it's very important. But the wrestling part always starts there. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's people who are out of shape that get into it, but they're looking for certain characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But working out, eating right, all that stuff is a big deal. And to get into the wrestling thing, and again, even though I didn't have a long stint in it, it's still acting. It's still show business. So you can do a lot of stuff in that. There's tons of different ways you can center yourself in the WWE, whether you're an actual wrestler or you're working with the company. The company's massive. So it's like, there's so many things you can do. You just have to find the right avenues to get the doors, to walk through those doors and the opportunities. If I were you right now, what I would do, and if I wanted to get in the WWE, I would find out when tryouts are. There's open tryouts. I would do that type of stuff. Granted, it's always in Florida, but also I would be looking at looking at where I'm going to take my career from high school, college, and see what I'm going to be doing centered around that, and getting into productions and things like that. And also taking different commercial acting classes, just so you can brush up on all of that type of speaking and on camera and in public. But again, it all depends on really what you want to do being in wrestling. And first starts with fitness, and then tries to just figure out where, how, what you want to do in wrestling, you know what I mean? Being a wrestler or part of the production or whatever that is. So networking is massive. Again, I know a few people in the WWE that aren't there anymore, but they were in the admin portions of it. And I contacted them to get tickets to the wrestling shows when they came to town. And like, just knowing those people and networking, man, it's invaluable, and that's the biggest advice I'll give you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Blake. Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me, my friend.
Yeah, and I thank you for taking the time to do this interview. It was a pleasure to have you on here.
Thanks, man.
So I hope you have a good rest of your night.
You too, brother. Take care, my friend.
Yep, you too. Goodbye.